Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna start a new movie, What If Naruto Was the Summoner of Godzilla Part 1. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Stupid Kakashi, leaving me behind to teach that dumb emo jerk. As Naruto Uzumaki walked through the village of Konohagakure, this was the only thing he could think about. His golden yellow hair, which was loose without his hidaite, hid his bright blue eyes, which were the second most noticeable thing about him after the 6 whisker marks on his cheeks. Some of the villagers who didn't like his tenant pushed by him, and he grunted a little. He decided to go to the one place he knew he could be at peace. He body flicked to the top of the head of Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage, and dropped his mask of being a stupid fool. He took off his hideous orange jacket and laid down to look at the village where he lived. They're all ungrateful jerks. I have to hold back the strongest of the tailed beasts, and Sasuke is treated like a hero while I'm treated like a demon. He picked up one of the rocks that were scattered on top of the monument and threw himself as hard as he could across the village. He gave a dark laugh at the thought that it might have hit someone. Fucker would have had it coming to him. He tensed up all of a sudden. There was something wrong. He reached into his pouch and grabbed a kunai. He jumped to his feet and threw it into the forest behind him faster than a jonin. He knew it hit something solid because it made a loud thunk. He thought it must have hit a tree, so he ran in the direction the kunai went. After a few minutes of walking through the forest, which was surprisingly thick, he found out what the kunai had hit. To his surprise, the kunai was stuck in the door of a small, run-down shack made of wood. Naruto shook with excitement. That was it. Something inside the shack was calling to him and daring him to come closer. Slowly, the blonde teen walked up to the shack and pulled the door off its hinges without much effort. This happened because the hinges were rusty. Except for a few cabinets and a moldy bed in the far left corner, the shack was empty. Strangely, there was a small dais in the middle, and what looked like the stubs of candles were all around it. Blood was on the dais. As the afternoon sun shone through the doorway, dust was flying around and filling the air. Naruto didn't know how this could be happening. He was surprised that he could see any sunlight at all because the forest was so thick. But this narrow strip of light helped him notice something strange. A seal, painted on the wall farthest away. The Uzumaki heir got close to the small seal while still holding his kunai. He looked at it. It looked like a storage seal, but he had no idea what it could hold. He didn't think twice before putting his hand on the seal and sending his chakra into the ink structure. He yelled when something poked him in the palm. As he pulled his hand away, which was now hurting, a puff of smoke came out of the wall and a large scroll fell to the floor. He quickly got his hand better, and when he touched the scroll, it opened up. He thanked his tenant for helping him see well in the dark, and then he started to read what was on the scroll. What he read made him feel sick to his stomach. Summoning contract for the Uzumaki family. Kaiju is a type of animal. Summon boss. The kaiju summoning contract was made for the first time when the sage of the 6 paths was on his deathbed and his 3 sons were around him. He gave each of his sons a gift with the last of his strength, while the middle child, who became the Senju clan, was given the wood release, and the oldest child, who became the Uchiha clan, was given the Sharingan as a mutation of the Rinnegan. The youngest child, who became the founder of the Uzumaki clan, was given the kaiju summoning contract, which was a much more destructive and powerful gift. According to a story, there was no chakra in the world before the Great Cataclysm, which created the elemental nations. Instead, nuclear weapons were used to fight wars. These weapons were so powerful that even the tailed beast bomb couldn't compare to how much damage they could do. Humans did well because they had technology, which helped them make these nuclear weapons. But these nuclear weapons led to something that would bring their world to an end. In the flames of a hydrogen bomb, a creature was born. And this creature laid siege to the country of Japan because it thought that Japan was the cause of its change. This monster was called Gojira or Godzilla, and it was also called the first kaiju. Even though the first Godzilla died, a second one came and continued the first one's hatred of humans. In the time between the death of the first Godzilla and the arrival of the first kaiju also fought other kaiju. Godzilla's many wins gave him a new name, King of the Monsters. But then there was a foe that even the king had trouble beating. A group of aliens called the Zillions were able to control all of the kaiju on Earth, except for the king. Godzilla was able to beat all of his allies and enemies and free them from the Zillions' control. He did this by destroying most of the landscape until the last monster, which had been locked up in a meteorite, came out of its prison and changed into a form that the king was familiar with. A stronger version of Kizer Ghidorah, the enemy he fought the most. Godzilla was able to kill Kizer Ghidorah after a long battle in which the two titans destroyed the whole country they were fighting in. However, this cost Godzilla the rest of its energy. In the end of this story, it is said that Godzilla and the other kaiju disappeared in a flash of light just a few days before the cataclysm. No one knows how the sage got the contract or how the kaiju were sealed inside. We only know that this contract has creatures that are even stronger than the tailed beasts, and that if these creatures go on a rampage, there will be a lot of damage. After the description, it had rows where the names of each summoner could be written. Daisuke Uzumaki, the first summoner, Kimonomo Uzumaki, Hidashi Uzumaki, and Adiota Uzumaki were the only names. Naruto couldn't believe that he was holding not only a very powerful contract, but also a piece of his clan's history. He didn't waste any time. He bit his thumb and wrote his name next to Adiota Uzumaki's. As soon as he crossed the T, the contract started to glow, and the next thing Naruto knew, he was floating in what could only be called nothingness. Are you a true Uzumaki? This question was asked by a voice that seemed to echo around the nothingness, making Naruto spin around as he looked for the source. Yeah, so what if I am? He shouted, hoping that whoever he was talking to would show themselves. The area was filled with a loud laugh, which made Naruto cover his ears. I like this one because, like me, he has a lot of anger and darkness in his soul. What would you use this contract for? When he opened his mouth to answer, he stopped himself. He thought about his answer because he knew it would decide whether or not he could use the family contract. After a few seconds, he spoke up. To protect the people I care about and punish those who hurt this world. A growl, which was either good or bad, filled the space he was in. So you would use it in some way to get back at them. Naruto gave a small nod to show that he knew there was only one right answer. Yes, those who cause suffering deserve to suffer themselves. With the help of the kaiju, I will not only stop those who want to hurt this world, I will destroy them. The nothingness looked like it was shaking violently, and Naruto fell down. As the world started to disappear, he heard a voice scream, Naruto Uzumaki, I think you're capable of holding up your end of the deal. After that, he heard many different roars, but one of them stood out to him the most. He was so scared that not even the Kyubi could make him feel that way. The roar came from a large shadow creature, and all Naruto could see of it were its evil amber eyes. Skrionk. When Naruto woke up on the floor of the shack, he could only say, Holy S. He put the seal on the scroll with one of the seals that were painted on his pant leg. He turned and walked out of the hut without saying anything, heading back to the fourth's head. As he looked at the village, a smile crossed his face, and he let out a small laugh. Get ready, Leaf Village, because the Naruto you knew is gone, and the real Naruto Uzumaki is coming back. Time jump, 3 days before the final Chunin exam. Naruto smiled as he finally finished the jutsu he had been working on for the past 4 weeks. He was out of breath. Soon after he found out about the kaiju contract, he was forced to learn from Abisu, a special jonin who wore all black, including a black bandana and black sunglasses. He did this until he met Jiraiya, a tall man in red robes over green kabuki clothing with a fishnet undershirt and wooden sandals. His long, spiky white hair was held back by a horned Hidaite with the kanji for oil written in the middle. Abisu was pretty stupid when he tried to stop Jiraiya from peeking in the hot springs. He was quickly taken care of, though. When Jiraiya saw Naruto, he decided right away that he would be Naruto's new sensei. His funny reaction to finding out about Naruto's contract was clear. Flashback no jutsu. Okay, brat. As your new sensei, I'm going to give you a chance you'll never get again. He bit his thumb, did some hand seals, and then slammed his bloody hand down on the floor. A toad came out of a cloud of smoke and spat out a big, familiar scroll. This is the scroll for the toad contract, which is one of the most powerful ways to summon things in the elemental nations. Strangely, at least to him, Naruto seemed to be hurt by this comment. He unrolled the contract with a shrug and pointed to one of the empty spots. Just write your name in blood in one of the slots, and everyone will know you are a toad summoner. I can't, Jiraiya said with a sad face. What do you mean you can't? Naruto stuck his finger in his ear, gave it a quick clean, and then gave the toad sage a mean look. Don't yell at me, and I have a contract. However, these summons are much bigger than the toads, with the smallest being 30-40 meters. This made the sage gasp, but he quickly grabbed the boy and body flicked to the Hokage's office. Flashback no jutsu. Stupid old man, you're keeping my inheritance from me, he muttered as he ripped off the useless jacket of his jumpsuit. After Naruto told the Hokage how he got the contract, the Hokage tried to ask Naruto to give him the scroll to look at. When Naruto refused, the Hokage tried to order him instead. The Hokage's expression when Naruto said that he couldn't ask for the scroll because it belonged to the Uzumaki clan. Because of this, Naruto asked for everything that belonged to the Uzumaki clan to be given back to him. Hiruzen tried to explain to Naruto that he was only looking out for him, But when Naruto said, "Look how that turned out over the years," he jerked in pain. Jiraiya was angry at how the villagers treated his Godzilla and that Hiruzen didn't do anything about it. So, he made Naruto his apprentice and started teaching him by showing him his birthright, how to work with seals, and what his element is. He wanted to teach him Toad Taijutsu, but you had to be a summoner to do that. So, he came up with something else. He and Naruto worked together to make a new Taijutsu form based on Naruto's already effective use of brawling. This was because Naruto had said that most kaiju were beings of destruction. By combining the wild but powerful blows with ninjutsu, they were able to make a taijutsu form that was similar to the pictures of kaiju fighting that were in the contract. They also found out that Naruto could use wind, so Jiraiya taught him the wind release, great breakthrough, wind release, gale palm, and wind release, pressure damage, in addition to taijutsu and the Rasengan. Naruto used shadow clones to help him learn not only his wind chakra but also an A, B, and 2 C rank jutsus. This would have been impossible for a genin, let alone a chunin, to do in a month. Naruto was definitely ready for the finals thanks to Jiraiya and the shadow clones. Kakashi, Sasuke, and everyone else, get ready to see how powerful I am. Stadium, day of the Chunin exam finals. As people from the village came to watch the finals of the Chunin exams, they filled the stadium's round stands and talked to each other, mostly to see the son of the 4th Kazekage fight the last loyal Uchiha. Even though most people noticed that Sasuke wasn't in the middle, some noticed that there was something else wrong with the line. "Sakura, where is Naruto?" asked Ino, a blonde girl with pale blue eyes and a ponytail of platinum hair. She was wearing an orange t-shirt and yellow shorts. Sakura, who was the same age as Ino and had green eyes and bubblegum pink shoulder-length hair, turned to her friend. She was wearing a red battle dress and biker shorts. I don't know, but he didn't seem like he was going to back out because he was mad at Neji. Suddenly, in the middle of the stadium, a small tornado appeared. It kicked up a lot of dust, and when it died down, it revealed a familiar shock of blonde hair. "I'm sorry I'm late, but I had to take care of some last-minute business." When he said this, everyone was completely quiet as they looked at him. He had grown a lot, and now he was 5'6" and his hair was even messier, with 2 small bangs on each side of his face. His jumpsuit was replaced by a black leather trench coat, a dark blue shirt with fishnet underwear, gray cargo pants with the cuffs tucked into a pair of black combat sandals with steel covering his toes. Scrolls looked like they were hanging from his hips, and his 88 looked like it was around his neck. Everyone kept staring at him, all of them thinking different things. Is that the demon's child? He looks like a younger version of 4th. Is that Naruto? He's so cute. Minato, if you could see your son now, you'd be so happy. Wow, Naruto looks badass. Uzumaki, your mother wants your blood. Whoa, Naruto's flames of youth seem to burn brighter than ever. Naruto is so hot. This was said out loud, and because the stadium was so quiet, everyone could hear it. That's nice of you to say, Ino, but you're also pretty cute, said Uzumaki with a smirk, making his fellow blonde blush a little. Even though the proctor was also shocked by Naruto's appearance, he was able to snap out of it and step forward to clear his way. For the finals, I'll be your judge. My name is Genma Shirandui, and Naruto Uzumaki and Neji Hyuga will stay in the arena. The rest of you go up to the contestants' box. While Genma looked at Naruto and Neji, everyone else left the arena except for an older man with pale eyes and long brown hair who was wearing a khaki shirt with a dull blue undershirt and brown shorts. The fight is over when one of you gives up, is knocked out, or when I say it's over. Got it? They both nodded. Ready? Start. With that, he jumped backward to the judge's stand, and the 2 genin also jumped back to make room. Give up now, Uzumaki. Fate has already decided that you are a loser, and you will continue to fail. Neji, do me a favor and pull that stick out of your behind, or I'll do it and use it to beat the crap out of you. Everyone was surprised by this. They thought Naruto would start yelling about how he needed to prove himself and become Hokage before he attacked. But this seemed out of place for the young Uzumaki, who was calm but spoke in a blunt way. Neji said, You dare, but Naruto threw a bunch of shuriken at the young Hyuga, did some hand seals amazingly fast, and shouted, Gale Palm, wind release. He clapped his hands together, which sent a strong gust of wind towards Neji and made the shuriken move much faster. This made the Hyuga reveal his secret weapon sooner than he wanted to. Standing with his feet shoulder-width apart and both arms out to the sides, he turned around while chakra came out of his palms. This made a dome appear around him, which stopped all the shuriken from hitting him. Once he was sure, he stopped the attack. He stopped spinning and put his head up to insult Naruto again, but a punch to the jaw stopped him. His head jerked to the side, and a strong uppercut to the stomach made him spit up blood. He tried to get away from the pain in his ribs by stumbling back, but then he got a roundhouse kick to the side of the head, which sent him flying off the side. Come on, Neji, is this all you've got? I thought I was doomed to lose, but it looks like you're the only one. Neji shakily got to his feet, moaning because both his ribs and his jaw hurt. This could not happen. During the preliminary rounds, Uzumaki was a weakling, and even Lee didn't hit as hard as Uzumaki did right now. How did he make so much progress in such a short amount of time? Neji rushed at the blonde with a snarl of anger and hatred burning in his eyes. As he got within a foot, the last Uzumaki pulled a scroll from his hip and tore it open. When he turned on his Byakugan, he saw that chakra was being sent to the scroll, which made him try to go faster. But it was too late, and Naruto yelled, "Release." With a smirk, bright blue chakra shot out of the scroll and hit the Hyuga prodigy in the ribs, which were already hurt. This broke a few of the Hyuga's ribs and threw him into the wall, which caused a cloud of dust to cover his body. After a minute, the dust settled, and it was clear that Neji was about to pass out. In a flash, Naruto was standing next to Neji. A kunai was held up to his neck. "Call it," Genma said. Startled, the Uzumaki heir looked at him and Genma raised his hand. W winner, Naruto Uzumaki. Silence filled the stadium until slowly but surely, people started cheering for the blonde until everyone was on their feet. They were shocked because the dead last was stronger than the Hyuga prodigy. There was no question which one was stronger. Naruto smiled and waved to the crowd before using the body flicker to get to the competitor's box. There, he saw Shikamaru, a lazy boy with dark eyes and hair in a pineapple shape. Shino, a boy whose eyes were covered by sunglasses and had a slight brown afro. Kenkuro, an older boy in a kabuki costume with purple paint on his face. Temari, an older girl with an attractive figure, teal eyes, and blonde Shikamaru was there to greet him. Naruto smirked at Nara and said, "You troublesome blonde, how the hell did you do that? Deception is a ninja's best weapon." After giving the crowd time to calm down, Genma yelled, "The next match will be between Shino of Uraim and Kenkuro of the desert." Kenkuro yelled, "I give up." He didn't want to waste chakra that could be used in the invasion. Shino's eyes got a little narrower as he looked at Suna Nin, who was usually bragging. In between the boos and insults from the villagers, Genma could be heard saying that Shino had won and calling for the next two contestants. On you go Shika, no wimping out. As Temari body flicked to the arena, Naruto pushed his shadow using friend over the banister. Overall, the match was interesting. For most of the battle, it looked like Temari had Shikamaru on the run, but then the Nara heir would set up an amazing trap. Finally, the wind Kunoichi was caught in his shadow, and he made her raise her hand. "I forfeit." Shikamaru let go of the jutsu, and Temari yelled, "What? You had me, why did you give up? You think I can't fight back, you sexist pig." Sigh, that was a pain, and I'm almost out of chakra. You can move, which shouldn't be possible when you're caught in this jutsu. With that, the Nara walked back to the box where the competitors were. Genma called Temari the winner as he sweated over how lazy the Nara heir was. Suddenly, a whirlwind of leaves blew up, and when it went away, Sasuke and Kakashi were standing next to each other. Sasuke was wearing a one-piece black outfit with black shorts, a belt on one arm, and bangs that reached his chin. Genma asked the man in black robes, "And you are?" Because he knew who he was. "Sasuke Uchiha." Kakashi said in a bored voice, "Sorry we're late, we got lost on the road of life." He then walked into the competitor's box. Gaara used sand body flicker to change into a sand person and smiled at the Uchiha. "Mother is happy to have your blood, Uchiha, and now she will also have Uzumaki's. Like you can beat a Uchiha. I'll beat you up and then go after the idiot," Sasuke said with his usual smirk. When the shot came at him, Naruto frowned and vowed to beat up his teammate. "Begin." Kakashi looked at his student's new clothes and asked, "So, Naruto, how did your match go?" "Sensei, he's starting to look more and more like you," he said. But what the sensei said stopped him from thinking about the past. "I won because my sensei is good," the blonde said. Kakashi frowned at her. "What does that mean, Naruto?" "You and the others learned well from me." Naruto laughed. "Taught us what?" "Teamwork. The only training you gave us was the tree climbing exercise. Everything else was me doing the D-rank missions and you teaching Sasuke jutsu and taijutsu while Sakura fantasized about molesting him and having pink-haired Uchiha brats with him." Sakura, Ino, Hinata, and Kiba had just stepped into the box. She gasped, and then anger rushed through her. She yelled, "Naruto," as she ran across the room and punched him in the back of the head. To her and everyone else's surprise, he not only caught the punch but also shoved her to the ground. "Try that again, and I won't be as nice the next time," he said in a voice that was as calm as death. Kakashi helped his student with pink hair to her feet while giving the Uzumaki a dirty look. Naruto, how could you attack a teammate like that? Have you forgotten what I told you when I tested your ability to work as a team? Everyone, including Kakashi, took a step back when Naruto glared with disgust at the one-eyed Jonin and snarled at him. You just lost the right to talk to me, headache. If leaving your teammates means you're trash, what does leaving one of your students mean? When he heard that, he turned to face Shikamaru, leaving Kakashi looking like he had just been hit. Would you mind telling me how you used that chakra beam? Asked the shadow user, who was happy to see his friend take off his mask. Naruto gave the boy a smile. During the break, Jiraiya taught me some seals, so I made one that let me draw chakra into it and turn it into a powerful blast when I let go. Because my chakra is so dense, the effects can be devas-like. He stopped talking when chirping and a squelching sound filled the air. Naruto turned around to face the arena, but all he could hear was Gaara's horrifying scream. My blood, it's my blood. As everyone started to feel tired, feathers started to fall from the sky. Naruto was about to fall asleep when he felt his left wrist start to burn. He pulled out a kunai and dragged it across the back of his hand while he growled. The pain woke him up and made him angry. He looked at his wrist and silently thanked Jiraiya for the seal that could tell when genjutsu was being used. The Hidden Leaf village was rocked by explosions as sound and sand ninjas rushed in to kill everyone there. As he looked at the bloodshed in the village, he felt a bad spirit behind him. He pulled out a kunai and threw it at a sand nin who had sneaked up on Sakura and Ino from behind. They and the other people in the competitor's box woke up when they heard the kunai go into the man's eye with a squelch. The two kunoichi screamed and jumped away from the body, their faces showing how shocked they were. When Naruto gave them 2 pouches, they came out of their shock. The girl with pink hair asked the Yamanaka heir, who was looking in the pouch she was holding, what are these? Extra kunai pouches. It looks like the hidden sand are attacking us, so you'll need these to fight. When Naruto heard a noise behind him, he pulled out another kunai and turned around to try to hit his attacker in the head with it, only for Kakashi, who looked very serious, to catch it. Sakura yelled, Kakashi-sensei, as the man stared hard into Naruto's eyes. Sakura, I want you to take Hinata, Kiba, and Ino and go help evacuate the civilians. He turned to Shikamaru and said, I want you, Shino, and Naruto to go after Sasuke and Gaara. I don't think Sasuke will be able to take on a container with the tenant's power. The other boys ran off to help with the village, but the 3 didn't even look back, leaving Kakashi to help fight against the stronger ninja. Naruto moved on and used his senses to find Gaara. He left Shikamaru and Shino to deal with 2 of the Sand siblings. When he got there, it wasn't a pretty sight. Sasuke was lying against a tree, and a cut just above his eye was dripping blood. His clothes were torn in a few places, and one of his legs was twisted at an odd angle. Gaara's appearance, on the other hand, was very scary. His head looked like the one-tailed Shukaku, and sand had wrapped around the left side of his upper body. Naruto kicked Gaara with a powerful roundhouse kick after he jumped off the branch he was hiding on. This moved Gaara away from Sasuke, who was on the ground. Naruto called up a shadow clone and had it take the barely conscious Uchiha away while Gaara got his bearings. What do you think you're doing, Uzumaki? Asked Jinchuriki, who was furious. Naruto laughed at the sand nin and took the first stance of the kaiju style of taijutsu that he and Jiraiya had made up. The feet are shoulder width apart, the legs are bent, and the left leg is pushed back. The arms are bent, and the left one is slightly raised. Both hands are in a claw shape. You attacked my village. Most of the people there deserve it, but there are some people I care about, and that's what made me mad. After saying that, he disappeared, only to reappear in front of Gaara with his fist a few millimeters away from his face. The redhead sand had stopped the blow, which was lucky for Gaara. Naruto raised his leg and tried to stick it into the teen's stomach as he growled at him. This was also blocked, but Gaara was tired of his fellow Jinchuriki's predatory grin. He turned his body and backflipped away from the sand nin while channeling chakra into the leg that was still on the ground. Gaara should have let go of his sand, but he didn't. This meant that when Naruto flipped, he was lifted off his feet and slammed face first into the ground. He snarled and threw a wave of sand at the blonde leaf nin, who easily avoided it. This went on for a few minutes until Gaara finally lost his temper. Enough, he yelled, and his kai rose so quickly that Naruto stumbled a little. This turned out to be a bad idea. Sand piled up around Gaara until it changed into Shukaku the Sand Spirit, the towering form of the one-tailed beast. Shukaku is a big mass of sand with blue veins all over its body and black markings around its yellow eyes. Gaara was buried up to his waist in the sand up to his head. He quickly made a series of hand seals and shouted, "Play possum jutsu." Gaara's head bobbed forward, and the Shukaku's eyes lit up with a strange yellow light. I'm finally out, and here's someone I want to kill. The huge tanuki lowered his head toward Naruto and shouted, "Wind style. Wind bullet." Shukaku took a deep breath of air and pounded his stomach before sending a barrage of compressed air balls down to the ninja, who was now very small. As each ball hit the ground, it sent a column of smoke into the air. After a few minutes, the dust started to go away. Satisfied that his target was dead, the big tanuki turned toward the village, but stopped when a very familiar chakra filled the air, followed by a roar of summoning jutsu. Again, a huge cloud of smoke filled the air, and then there was a loud, scary roar. Skreonk. As the smoke cleared away, Shukaku and the ninjas on the ground saw something really scary. A creature that looked like a cross between a T-Rex and a Stegosaurus stood over the trembling Shukaku. It had black, leathery skin, 3 rows of sharp dorsal fins running down its back, and evil-looking amber eyes. Shukaku was about 35 meters tall, but this creature was a whopping 100 meters tall. The animal put its head back and let out another roar that shook the bones. Naruto murmured, "So you're Godzilla, huh?" as he sat on the creature's shoulder and stared at its powerful aura. The creature turned its head slightly when it heard its name and locked one of its eyes on Naruto's. "You're very smart, young one. No one has ever been able to call me before." Naruto was startled when he heard a familiar voice in his head, but he soon calmed down when he realized it was Godzilla's. "So I guess you are in charge of the kaiju contract," Godzilla said. Shukaku stood still as Godzilla turned to look at him. "Please tell me what this strange creature is. It has a weak aura of power." That is Shukaku, the one-tailed beast. After the great catastrophe, they kind of took the place of the kaiju. Godzilla snorted and then looked at the scared-tailed beast with all of his attention. "Then I'd better show those other humans what a real monster can do," he said. But Naruto spoke up before he could do anything. "Be careful, though. On his head is a boy who holds the Shukaku. You can do whatever you want to Shukaku, but if you kill him, war will break out in the world." Godzilla seemed to think about what he said for a moment before making what looked like an attempt to smile. For some, it was a very scary snarl. "As long as I hit your body and not your head, you'll be fine." "Alright, kid, I've been waiting for centuries to do this." Before Naruto could ask what he wanted to do, Godzilla's dorsal fins and mouth started to glow a strange blue color. Naruto thought that what happened next could only be called awesome. Godzilla's jaws were hit by a bright blue beam of energy that went through Shukaku's stomach and destroyed most of his body. Shukaku screamed in pain and fear as he fell to the ground. Naruto saw his chance and jumped off Godzilla's shoulder as he kept firing his light beam. Naruto sent chakra to his legs and then slammed into the pile of sand as he raced toward the head of Shukaku, which was still yelling. As soon as the sand cloud he made when he landed calmed down, Naruto ran to Gaara, who was still unconscious. He cocked his fist back. "Wake up, you bastard." Wham! Naruto slammed his fist into Gaara's jaw, waking him up and causing the Shukaku to disappear with its screams. When Godzilla saw that his enemy was gone, he let out another skreonk and vanished, all the while thinking about how fun Naruto would be. When they hit the ground, they both fell away from each other. Naruto crashed into a tree while Gaara skidded to a stop. He hissed, "Aw fuck," and shakily got to his feet. After the crash, his left arm hung loosely. He limped over to the downed Gaara and grunted. When Gaara saw Naruto coming, he started to run away in fear. No, stay back. I can't let you wipe me out of existence." Naruto stopped a foot away from him and let out a painful laugh. "Stupid, I'm not going to kill you. I may not have had it as bad as you, but I could have ended up like you. But I had people who helped me and became important to me. It's for them that I fight, to keep them safe from harm." The Sand Jinchuriki was confused, but before he could say anything, Temari and Kenkuro came out of the tree. They both looked beat up and tired. "Dara," Temari yelled as she ran to her brother's side. "Are you okay?" She glared at Naruto, took an aggressive stance, and reached for her fan. "You jerk. I'll kill you," she said, cutting off her sentence. "No," Dara yelled, shocking his sister as he grabbed her wrist. "No, Uzumaki beat me. The invasion failed. Let's go back to the hidden sand." Temari gently helped her brother to his feet, and Kenkuro rushed to his other side to keep him steady. "Dara," the redhead turned to face the blonde shinobi. "I hope you understand that if people helped me, there are people who can help you. For now, let me be your friend." Gaara stared at the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki for a moment before giving him a smile, and saying, "Thank you, Naruto Uzumaki. Temari, Kenkuro, let's go." As they walked away, Gaara thought about what Naruto had said. Someone precious. Who could that be? He looked at his worried siblings and said, "Maybe I can start with you." Temari, Kenkuro. Naruto watched as his 3 siblings left, and then he passed out from exhaustion. Naruto sighed as he looked at the memorial stone for the Hokage. Unlike the stone Kakashi was looking at, this one was a beautiful white marble stone with the names of each Hokage and their families carved into it. One name stood out to the teen in particular, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Old man, I guess we ended it pretty badly, huh? A tear started to roll down his cheek as he thought about his time with the third Hokage. You were supposed to be the one who swore me in as Hokage. You were supposed to watch me grow. He fell to his knees, tears now running down his cheeks. He punched the ground with both fists closed. Damn it, he yelled as pain and sadness tore at his heart. It wasn't supposed to go this way. I didn't even get to say goodbye or apologize. He felt bad about it. Naruto turned around quickly and saw Jiraiya, who was also crying. The Toad Sage walked up to the boy and sat down next to him. He put an arm around the boy's shoulders. I got there just before he died. Do you know what his last words were? The blonde teen looked up at him, so he continued. He said, "Tell Naruto that I'm sorry I won't get to see him become Hokage, and that I want him to look after Konohamaru as if he were his own younger brother. Tell him not to wallow in his sorrow, but to keep going and make his dream come true." That was his dying wish, not to take care of the village, but for you to be happy. Naruto just sat there in silence, thinking about what Jiraiya had told him. As the Toad Sage stood up, he asked, "Who will be Hokage?" Jiraiya smiled slightly. "Not you yet, kid. The old man wanted me or my teammate Tsunade to take over. I've got my spy network, so tomorrow I'm leaving to find Tsunade." He turned to leave, but Naruto stopped him again. Jiraiya was surprised when he said, "I want to come." "What did you say?" "I'll help you find Tsunade," she said. Naruto stood up and looked the perverted sage in the eye. "And why would you want to do that?" Jiraiya couldn't believe how much he looked like Minato. The old man isn't here to protect the leaf anymore. To make it up to him, I'll help the new Hokage defend the village if I can't be Hokage. Jiraiya didn't say anything while he was talking. Naruto was a little worried about his silence, but Jiraiya called out, "North Gate, 7 a.m. got it, rat." As he walked away, Naruto smiled and nodded, then called out, "Got it, Jiraiya-sensei." Jiraiya smiled at this, then turned to the blonde and waved for him to walk with him. The blonde ran after the man, grinning. She didn't know that this was the start of one of the best stories in the world. The story of Naruto Uzumaki, the Legend Summoner. The Hidden Sand and the Hidden Sound had attacked the Hidden Leaf Village 6 months ago. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, had been dead for 6 months after he was killed by S-rank missing Nin and Snake Sannin, Orochimaru. Since then, her teammate Jiraiya and his newest apprentice had brought Tsunade back to the village. Shizune just put a mountain of papers on Tsunade's desk, and she grumbled as she worked her way through them. She had no idea why in the hell she had taken this terrible job. "Naruto," she snarled. That damn kid had promised to show her how to beat the paperwork, but so far all he had done was train. When she thought about the blonde, her mind went straight to the summoning scroll he had gotten for some reason. Based on what Inoichi had shown her, the creature Naruto had called up had destroyed Shukaku completely. But there was still something about the scroll that was bothering her, regarding who exactly made the contract. Everyone thought that the Sage of the Six Paths was just a myth, but the discovery of that scroll proves that he did exist at one time. If he did exist, then that must mean that. She shook her head as if to get rid of such a crazy idea. No, it's impossible. Over the centuries, many people had searched the area, but nothing had been found. It would take a miracle for that place to even be there. "Shizune," yelled the blonde Sannin. Within seconds, a woman with black hair and black clothes with a confused look on her face walked into the room. "Yes, Lady Tsunade. Is there a problem?" "Get me Naruto Uzumaki. I think I have a mission for his test," said the fifth Hokage with a smirk on her face, which made her look young. Shizune asked, "His test?" With a mostly confused look on her face, Tsunade pulled a small notebook out of one of her drawers. She threw it on the table. Shizune took the shiny black book and opened it to the page she had marked. "Mildred, this is. Yes, there is a list of people to think about to see if they are ready to be tested for the rank of Jonin, and I think you have noticed one of them." The Slug Sannin student argued, "Milady, he is just a boy. He hasn't even gotten used to being a Chunin yet." Tsunade looked at Shizune with an angry look. "However, he has shown good leadership skills, and I think he is ready. I do think he is young, which is why he is listed as a Tokubetsu Jonin. But this is just to see if he is ready to be tested. Get Naruto to me right away." "Right away, lady," Shizune said. He then gave the notebook back and walked out of the room. She was determined to do what Tsunade had asked her to do. After 10 minutes, the young Uzumaki came in through a window. He jumped in and landed just 2 feet from the desk, with his black jacket twirling around his ankles. He gave the blonde Senju a smile. "Yes, Granny." He leaned a little to the left to avoid the paperweight that was pointed at his head. He did this with a smirk on his face. Again, Tsunade growled, then got up and turned to look out the window behind her desk. As I told you, you are one of the few shinobi who have been chosen to be tested to see if they have what it takes to take the Tokubetsu Jonin exams. For your test, I'm sending you on a mission to look into the land of Rebirth. When he heard this, Naruto quickly covered up his smile and went into what Jiraiya called Minato mode. His eyes got sharper and his face became calm right away. This showed that he was paying full attention to what was going on. Turning around, Tsunade pointed to a file on her desk. Naruto took the file and started reading. He knew this was her way of giving it to him. I've never heard of a place called the Land of Rebirth. That's because it's a myth, the blonde Hokage said. Naruto looked up at her, curious about how she ended her sentence. You think there's a place called the Land of Rebirth? What makes you think that? Because it's where the Sage of the Six Paths was born. Naruto's head snapped around to look at his distant relative. He was starting to get what she meant. Since my contract proves that the sage exists, you must also believe that this place exists, Tsunade said. I see. According to legends, the Land of Rebirth was the only country left untouched by the cataclysm. In fact, it drew the other broken lands toward it, forming the elemental nations. If this is true, then the Land of Rebirth should be at the heart of the elemental nations, and I think you will be the key to unlocking the city. Naruto raised an eyebrow at Tsunade's last sentence. How did you come to that conclusion? You are in Uzumaki, and there hasn't been a single Uzumaki found at the site, according to all records. The Jinchuriki's face changed as he began to understand, and then he nodded. I'll do this mission, and I'd like to know what choices you have for my team, Lady Tsunade. The Slug Princess pulled a stack of files out of her drawer and gave them to the Kaiju Summoner. She said, all right. Naruto began to look at the list of chosen shinobi. Name, Shikamaru Nara. Ninja registration, 12,611. Rank, Chunin. Strategist is a type of. Cage notes, excellent at problem solving. If you're not a leader, you're best as a second in command. Most likely kept away from the front lines, while the shadow jutsu of his clan can be used to capture hostages. Name, Ino Yamanaka. Ninja registration, 12,604. Rank, Genin. Sensor type, Interrogator and Medic Nin classification. Yamanaka is loud and has a short temper, but he can handle bandits, mercenaries, and Rouge Nin. As Inoichi's daughter, Ino has learned some of the Yamanaka clan's interrogation techniques, which makes her a good choice. Name, Sai. Even though the files were interesting and had similar layouts, one thing bothered him. Lady Tsunade, most of these shinobi are genin. You can't ask me to bring genin on what looks like a mission between B rank and A rank, and I don't know anything about this Sai person, which shouldn't be possible. Tsunade smiled at Naruto's worry that one of his friends would get hurt. That's possible, Chunin Uzumaki. But I've chosen a Jonin to join your team. You'll be the leader, but they'll be your examiner and judge your skills as a ninja and a team leader. He went through each file carefully, nodding to himself as he did so. He gave her 3 files after 5 minutes. Tsunade took them and thought about what to do. Those are some interesting choices. May I ask why you chose Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka, and Shino Aburame? Naruto nodded and cleared his throat. I have known Shikamaru for a long time, and he's one of the best strategists I've ever seen. He even beat the old man at shogi. Ino Yamanaka was chosen for her interrogation skills. In the academy, she was one of the nosiest people I knew, trying to find out every detail of gossip she could. I think this trait has carried over to her ability as an interrogator, trying to get every secret out of enemy shinobi. Tsunade thought about his reasoning and nodded as he saw that the information was correct. Okay, bear. An ANBU wearing a bear mask walked up to her and said, get me Shino Aburame, Shikamaru Nara, and Ino Yamanaka, as well as Kakashi Hadake. Naruto started to say, Lady Tsunade, but the blonde cage cut him off. Since Kakashi is a Jonin, I'm having him be your examiner. That won't be a problem, will it? This wasn't a question, it was a statement. Of course not, Lady Tsunade. They stood there in silence until the office door opened and the 4 shinobi came in. Of course, Ino was the first to say something. Is there something wrong, Lady Tsunade? Instead of answering, Tsunade signaled for Naruto to talk. He cleared his throat and turned to face the 4 people in front of him. He gave each of them a copy of the file Tsunade had given him and said, I've chosen you to go with me on a very important mission. The name of their destination confused the 3 younger shinobi, but it shocked Kakashi's one eye. People think that the Land of Rebirth is a myth because no one has ever found it. The Hokage told me that many people thought the sage was a myth, but my summoning contract proved them wrong. Lady Tsunade hopes that the Land of Rebirth is also real. With a click of his fingers, he activated the seals on the files, which caused them to burst into flames. Meet me at the North Gate at 13:00. Pack for a 3-day trip and make sure you have plenty of weapons, because our destination is right on the border of Fire Country and Rice Country. Only 3 days. But this place is supposed to be in the middle of the elemental nation. How are we going to get there? Ino asked, looking shocked. Naruto laughed at her. Easy, my new friends can get us there quickly. The kaiju summoner then used a wind-water body flicker to disappear. Kakashi thought, I've got to ask him how he combines 2 elements in a body flicker, as he left through the window, leaving the 1 Chunin and 2 Genin to stare at the empty space where Naruto used to be. TL Sadil 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 Sad. Naruto sighed and looked at his watch. It was too late. Even Kakashi was there on time, and it looked like he was watching how upset Uzumaki was. He made a familiar hand sign and growled a little. Shadow cloning technique. Naruto called up 3 copies of himself with a puff of smoke and told them to find his missing team members. Wind body flickers made the 3 clones disappear, and 10 minutes later, they came back with the 3 angry ninja. What's the big deal, Naruto? I was getting a good night's sleep when Yushi started to say, but a short burst of Kai cut her off. As they shook, they saw Naruto's angry face and knew they had made a mistake. What part of meet me at the North Gate at 13:00 hours don't you understand? I can understand Shikamaru and even Ino, but what's up with you, Shino? Even Kakashi was there on time. He was even 15 minutes early. The Aburame hung his head in shame, but Ino's face turned bright red with anger. Who made you leader? Kakashi-sensei is here, so shouldn't he be the team leader? If anything, Shikamaru is a higher rank than you, dead last. Naruto appeared behind her faster than she could blink, and the next thing she knew, she was on her knees with a kunai to her throat. Shikamaru yelled, Naruto. He couldn't believe how rough he was being with his fellow blonde. You're lucky, Ino. If this was in a rank or S rank, I could kill you for disobedience. I may have been dead last, but I'm sure I could kick all of the rookies' asses without breaking a sweat. As for being a higher rank, we were both made Chunin at the same time, so think before you speak next time. He let her go before he helped her stand up. Near her feet, a pack was put down. Shikamaru and Shino both looked at Naruto in confusion as a similar pack was put down next to them. I sent extra shadow clones to your homes and had your mothers pack your supplies. Ino, you take the middle position. Shino, on her right side, and Shikamaru, take her right. Kakashi, I want you to take the back position. I'll take point. My nose is the same length as the Inuzuka clans. I'll call up a way to get us to our destination, but we have to leave the village. Move out. Ino couldn't help but look at her leader as they got ready to leave the village. What happened to the happy-go-lucky kid with a big mouth who was always yelling about becoming Hokage? Where did Naruto get so much calmer and more cruel? If there's one thing I hate, it's a mystery. I'll find out what happened to you, Naruto. Naruto's call for everyone to stop broke up her train of thought. He bit his thumb and did a series of hand seals before slamming his hand, which was bleeding, on the ground. Summoning jutsu. Everyone in the area, except for Naruto and Kakashi, put their hands over their eyes when they saw the familiar puff of smoke. As the smoke cleared, Naruto's team gasped in amazement as they saw what the new creature looked like. It was big and looked like a butterfly. Its body was cream-colored, and its eyes were the clearest blue they had ever seen. Except for Naruto's, which is obvious. The creature's wings were mostly red and blue, with a few white spots here and there. Naruto would guess that it was about 70 to 75 meters long if he had to guess. The creature seemed to look around in surprise before turning its head towards Shino, whose insects had become very active as soon as the new monster showed up. After looking at him for a few seconds, the creature turned its head toward Naruto. Child, are you the one who called me? Naruto was stunned for a moment. The voice was so female-sounding. Yes, may I ask what your real name is? I was once the guardian of Infant Island, Mothra, my child. Naruto nodded and pointed to his friends. These are my friends, Mothra. We need to get to the land of Rebirth in the middle of the elemental nations, and I was hoping you could help us get there. The guardian of Infant Island looked at his friends for a while, then bowed her big head and sank to the ground. Of course, my child. Godzilla, Anguirus, and even Ghidorah himself have said nice things about you. Hop on board, and I'll get you and your friends there in a few hours. Naruto smiled and waved for his team to get on board the big moth kaiju. He then climbed on top of Mothra's round head. Once everyone was in place, Mothra gave a strong flap of her wings, and they were soon flying through the air. When Naruto spoke up, they had only been flying for a few minutes. Mothra, could you tell me how things were before the cataclysm? Mothra gave a small chirp that sounded like she was trying to sigh. What can I say? It was advanced. The technology they had was amazing. They could do things with it that would put your shinobi skills to shame. The humans of that time built large cities and monuments. They used their technology to build vehicles to move them around, to create new ways to help the human race continue. Some of the shinobi were very impressed by what they heard. Naruto thought about how the cities of that time would be different from the village. Ino thought about the plants that might have been around at one time. Shino had similar ideas, but his were about the bugs. Shikamaru was lying on his back and looking up at the clouds, while Kakashi was reading his porn and laughing to himself. Ino woke up from her daydream and glared at Kakashi, offended that he would read such trash in front of her. A few minutes later, Mothra spoke up and turned to look at Naruto. "Young one, Godzilla has told all the kaiju to give you this message: if you ever call for us, come to Monster Island. There is something important we need to talk about." Naruto frowned. "I'm in the middle of a mission right now, so how can I? Of course." Naruto made the familiar cross-shaped hand sign and, with a puff of smoke, called up a shadow clone next to him. "Mothra, do you think you could send my clone back to Monster Island so I could talk to Godzilla without giving up on the mission?" Mothra nodded and closed her eyes in thought. The clone disappeared in a puff of smoke a second later. "If I were you, I'd rest now, because we'll be there in a few hours." Naruto smiled and put his head on the fuzzy head of Mothra. As he fell asleep in Morpheus's arms, he thought about what Godzilla might want to talk to him about. Monster Island is part of Summoning World. Naruto looked around to see where he was. He was on a beach, and he could hear the waves hitting the shore behind him. He saw a thick tropical jungle in front of him. He could see shapes moving through the leaves of the trees. He started to move toward the jungle, but then he heard a loud shriek from up high. When he jerked his head up, he couldn't believe what he saw. A big animal that looked like a pteranodon was diving toward him and landing a few feet away, making a big cloud of sand rise up. When everything calmed down, Naruto got a good look at the kaiju. Naruto thought it was about the same height as Godzilla, and its scales looked like bricks. It stood on 2 legs and 2 arms, and a thin membrane connected its sides to the space between its arms. It had gold scales that went from its chest to its legs. It had 2 horns on the top of its head, and its mouth was a steel gray beak. It had 4 fingers on each hand. The kaiju looked down at the blonde shinobi and, from what he could tell, smiled at him. "Hey, you must be the new summoner that everyone has been talking about, little guy. How are you?" Naruto could tell from the kaiju's voice that it was a man. "Yeah, I'm Naruto Uzumaki. And you are?" "Hey, kid, my name is Rodden. I think you're here to see the big G, right? Come on, let's go." Then Rodden turned around and walked slowly down the beach. Naruto had to run to keep up with the huge steps of the kaiju. Rodden took Naruto halfway around the island, and 20 minutes later, they stopped in front of a big cave. Rodden smiled as he turned around and looked down at the young summoner. "This is where we part ways, little dude. Make sure to call me sometime, because it gets pretty boring around here, you know." Naruto had to get ready as the big kaiju that looked like a pteranodon took off with a powerful flap of its wings, sending a huge cloud of sand into the air. As Naruto coughed, he quickly moved through hand seals. Wind style, gale palm. Naruto clapped his hands together to call up a strong gust of wind to blow away the sand cloud. When it was finally quiet, he went into the big cave. The cave was dark, and small torches that burned a sapphire blue color were the only way to see. After about 5 minutes of walking, the floor of the cave started to go down. Naruto shook as he walked deeper into the cave. With every step he took, it seemed like the temperature dropped quickly. After what seemed like hours, the ground finally leveled out, and the tunnel widened into a huge room. Godzilla, the king of monsters, was sitting in the back of the room on a throne made from the cave stone. "Looks like you got my message, kid." Naruto walked up to the first kaiju and craned his neck to look into the boss kaiju's amber eyes. "Yes, Mothra gave it to me. I wonder what was so important that I had to leave the mission in the middle." Godzilla looked down at the young summoner and made a smirking face. "Yes, there are 2 things we need to talk about. First, you know that my predecessor and I were both born in the fires of an atomic bomb, which changed us into what you see today. Most of my power comes from nuclear energy, which is called radiation or nuclear energy. This energy flows through the whole island and is very dangerous to humans in such large amounts." He saw Naruto's horrified face and continued, "Unless you have Uzumaki blood." Naruto was shocked. He had a Kekkei Genkai. As he thought about this information, he looked at the huge monster. "Tell me about this radiation release. What does it do?" Godzilla laughed, which, if Naruto was being honest, was a truly terrifying sound. "First of all, radiation chakra is very strong. Much stronger than that evil power I sense in you," Naruto said as he touched his stomach unconsciously. "There were jutsu made with the radiation chakra, but they were destroyed when Whirlpool fell. The only reason we are still here is because the 4th Uzukage trusted the 3rd Hokage with our summoning scroll to give to your mother. I do have a scroll that explains how to control the radiation chakra, which I think is a training exercise. I'll send it to Mothra to give to the real Naruto. Naruto stared at the Godzilla snorted. How did you know I was a clone? No one, not even the old man, has ever figured that out. I'm proud of being able to memorize an ally's energy signature so that if they come up to me in battle, I won't accidentally attack them. Even though our energies are different, I was able to memorize your energy signature thanks to the radiation release chakra. Naruto could tell that Godzilla became serious because the king of the monster's whole body tensed up and his clawed hands dug into the stone arms of his throne. Now, let's talk about something even more important. There are only 3 kaiju who have been exposed to a lot of nuclear energy, me, Rodden, and another kaiju named Anguirus. I have the most nuclear energy, followed by Anguirus, and Rodden has the least. Since we've lived so close to each other for so long, we've developed a kind of radar by detecting each other's levels of radiation. The first kaiju saw that Naruto was on his knees, which was a sign that he was getting weak. I see we're out of time, kid. I'll leave you with this before you dispel. Where you're going, the land of Rebirth. Mothra told me that a new signature is getting stronger. If you meet this new kaiju, you must call either one of the other kaiju I mentioned or myself. The others won't be able to fight someone with that much power. Good luck, kid, you'll need it. With that, the shadow clone exploded in a puff of smoke, leaving the king of the monsters to wonder what kind of kaiju could be running around. I wonder no, it couldn't be I killed him myself, you liar. Unless he laid eggs back in Sydney could one have survived. HMMM. As soon as Naruto got the clone's memories, his eyes popped open. He jumped right out of his seat, which startled his friends, but he didn't pay them any mind. Instead, he thought about what he had said to Godzilla. So not only do I have a Kekkei Genkai, but there is also a new kaiju on the loose. Well, that wasn't what I was expecting, but it's okay. As Godzilla said, I just need to call him or one of his friends. Anyway, this radiation release sounds pretty cool. I wonder. He was pulled out of his thoughts when someone gently shook his shoulder. Naruto, 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 are you there? When he turned just a little, he met Ino Yamanaka's bright blue eyes. As she looked at him, her eyes seemed to flash with worry. He gave a sheepish smile. Sorry, I guess I had a lot on my mind, he said as he looked at Kakashi with a sudden serious look. We've got a problem. The one-eyed Jonin looked up from the orange-bound book he was reading. He tensed his muscles just a little bit, which is different from how he was standing. No matter what he thought Naruto would do, it wasn't what he got. A kaiju has gotten away. Shikamaru sat up. Shino turned his head to look at the blonde summoner, and Ino let out a gasp. Even Mothra reacted to the fact that she fell for 2 or 3 seconds. When he looked at his old student, Kakashi's eye got smaller. Are you sure? Yes, said the blonde. Godzilla says that besides him, there are 2 other kaiju with high levels of an energy called radiation. He also says that there is a 4th energy signature that is roaming the elemental nations, and Kakashi. He paused for a moment to let the information sink in, and then he said, it's in the land of Rebirth. Ino yelled, are you serious? As she looked at Naruto in shock. So not only do we have to find some weird new land, but we might also have to fight one of your weird monster things. She drew back a little at Naruto's glare, and she almost screamed when she saw his eyes change a little. As Ino blocked the other's view of Naruto's face and of Naruto himself, he called on the radiation chakra inside of him without realizing it. The bloodline had been unlocked when the clone broke apart. It turns out that the radiation on Monster Island was what started the whole thing. When he used the chakra, his eyes went from being a calm azure blue to a fiery orange. They only changed color for a few seconds, but Ino was too shocked to scream because of how quickly it happened. If you don't mind, Ino, I'd rather you didn't call the kaiju freaky monsters, Naruto said coldly, turning his attention to Mothra, who was looking at something below them. What's wrong? Naruto turned to look at his team and said, I feel a strange power below us. It's familiar. It's something I haven't felt in 100 years. Hold on, and Mothra, please take us down. Wait, my child, he said. With that, the divine moth kaiju started to fall. Thank you, Mothra. Please tell Godzilla that I've taken his advice and listened to his warning about this new kaiju. Of course, young one, but be careful. I feel a dangerous presence here that is not this kaiju. Watch out for yourself, because something is wrong here. The kaiju then vanished in a puff of smoke that everyone knew. Once she was gone, Naruto looked at the rest of his team. Right now, Mothra says we should be close to a large cave system. She thinks no one has found the land of Rebirth because it sank into the ground when the sage died. Use formation Theta. After that, they got into a line, with Naruto in front, Ino behind him, Kakashi at the back, and Shikamaru and Shino on either side of Ino. They jumped into the trees around them and ran quickly through the tops of the trees. Times 3 hours have passed. Let's stop for now, guys. It's getting late, so let's set up camp for the night. Shikamaru and Ino both passed out because they were not used to jumping from tree to tree so much. Shino just sat down while Kakashi pulled out his smut with an orange band. He sighed and looked at his friends before calling up 7 shadow clones. You, get us some firewood. You, find the nearest water source. You, set up traps while the other 4 make a perimeter. He pointed to each clone as he gave them the jobs they needed to do. The 7 mirror images nodded and disappeared as they went to do their jobs. He turned to his team and cleared his throat. We'll stay here for the rest of the night. We'll leave at first light tomorrow. And we won't need a guard because I'll have clones keeping an eye out for trouble and letting me know as soon as something goes wrong. The blonde Uzumaki jumped onto a branch nearby and started to meditate. Mindscape. When he opened his eyes, he saw a sewer tunnel, which was a familiar sight. But there was a small change in how it looked. On the wall, there were usually 3 pipes. One was about average size, and at the top, there were 2 huge pipes, one a little bigger than the other. The bigger pipe gave off a scary red light, while the other big pipe gave off a cool, bright blue light. These pipes stood for the main sources of chakra in his body, which were his own chakra reserve and the chakra of the 9 tails, which constantly let small amounts of demonic chakra flow into his own reserves. A white aura shimmered around a third, smaller pipe. This was a sign of the wind chakra that he had naturally grown. Just below the pipe that represented his wind release chakra, a new pipe that was a little bit bigger had appeared. This was a sign of the radiation release chakra, which had just been awakened and was now running through his body. As he got closer to the new pipe, he found himself being drawn down a familiar path that led to a huge cage with a piece of paper in the middle that said seal. Oh, my poor jailer has decided to come back after all. I thought you were afraid of me. Out of the darkness of his prison, the 9-tailed demon fox's big, smirking face peered at Naruto's small body. The big creature made the blonde Uzumaki smile. If I'm not afraid of Godzilla, why do you think I'd be afraid of a smaller creature like you? Clang! The 9-tails smashed one of his clawed hands against his cage and let out a loud snarl. How dare you compare me, the mighty 9-tailed demon fox, to you prehistoric fossil? Naruto smirked as he looked into the red eyes of the monster fox and said, a prehistoric fossil that could kick your ass. 9 snarltails seemed to get worse, and his eyes burned with anger. Naruto spoke up before he could start to yell. So why did you bring me here? I was fine with training my senses more. The 9-tails snorted and sat down on his forearms, locking one of his big red orbs with one of Naruto's defiant blue orbs. TCH, you rude human. I called you here because I noticed something strange about your chakra coils. When I looked into it, I was shocked to find not 3 but 4 chakra signatures running through your body, 3 of which were yours. Are you afraid it might be something you can't change? The fox slammed his clawed paw against the bars again. His red eyes were burning with anger. How dare you, pathetic human. Anything that kills you kills me too, so if this new chakra will harm you, I have to deal with it. He stopped talking when a blast of blue chakra hit the demon fox in the stomach, knocking him to the watery floor. He shook his big head and looked out of his cage. When he did, he saw a big shadowy figure standing behind Naruto. Its back was glowing an eerie blue, and its amber eyes were staring into his red eyes. As Naruto laughed, the figure disappeared into the darkness. Watch what you say, fox, or I might have to introduce you to my prehistoric fossil. You know, the one that turned your brother Shukaku into a crying mess who, according to Gaara, has stopped trying to eat him in his sleep and given him full access to his powers. Naruto turned and gave one last smirk to the fox, who was now shaking. Within seconds, the sewer disappeared and was replaced by a large training field. The scroll that Mothra had given him appeared in front of him in a puff of smoke. He picked one up and read what was inside. Uzumaki Keke Genkai, Radiation Release. The radiation release is a natural release that the Kaiju clan gave to the Uzumaki clan as a gift. Radiation is a source of energy like the Yakai of the tailed beast, but it is even worse for the human body. Only because the Uzumaki have a natural ability to heal did the radiation that was injected into the bloodstream of the first summoner bond with our chakra to make this new nature release. Due to the fact that it is corrosive, any radiation release powered jutsu has a high chance of severely burning the area where it hits and an equal chance of giving the victim radiation poisoning. Radiation poisoning is like chakra poisoning, but it's much harder to treat if the person helping the person doesn't know anything about radiation. Steps 1 through 5 for controlling and training with the radiation release chakra are written on the seals below. When Naruto looked at the seals at the bottom of the scroll, he knew they were blood seals because they were exactly the same as the ones that held the Kaiju summoning contract 4 months ago. He put his thumb on the first seal and gave a small hiss as the seal pricked his finger to get the required payment. A small scroll appeared out of a puff of smoke and landed perfectly in Naruto's outstretched hand. Naruto took a quick look at what was on the scroll as he unrolled it, and a smile grew on his face. This seems like a good time. Skip ahead 4 hours. Naruto came out of his meditative state and looked around him. There didn't seem to be anything strange. When he looked to his left, he saw Kakashi right next to him. Something wrong, Kakashi? The shinobi with one eye smiled at him and pointed to the fire they had built. A boar that looked pretty well cooked was held above it. One of your shadow clones was able to kill this boar, and the other brought back a lot of firewood. We set the boar to cook while your clones went to help the others keep watch. We thought you might be hungry now. With a smile and a thank you nod, the blonde shinobi jumped down from his branch. His former sensei quickly followed, and they joined the others by the fire. After putting out a lot of cooked meat for themselves, the 5 ninjas sat down to eat. Shikamaru spoke up after they had only been eating for a short time. What did your summon want with you, Naruto? The others stopped what they were doing and turned to look at the Uzumaki heir. The boy sat still, his face looking thoughtful, as if he was thinking about what to say. Well, it looks like the kaiju weren't the only thing my clan gave me. When they heard this, they all leaned forward in shock. They forgot all about their meal. What do you mean it wasn't the only thing you got? Asked Ino. Everyone else was looking at Naruto very closely. Naruto didn't say anything and just stared into the fire while everyone else waited for him to talk. After about a minute, he did. I come from a long line of people. The fact that no one spoke after that statement showed how shocked they all were. Before getting up, Naruto put the scroll in his pocket and sealed the piece of meat he had just eaten. It's best if you finish your meal, because we're leaving early in the morning. Good night. Then the teenager took out another scroll, opened up his sleeping bag, and got in. He fell asleep right away. The others kept staring at his still body until they had finished their food and went to bed for the night. Kakashi put the rest of the boar away to eat later. Holy crap, that's a huge hole. Giggle giggle, wham, groan, stupid pervert. The other 3 members all slapped their palms together at the Jonin's sick thoughts and Ino's over-the-top reaction. Shikamaru looked out over the dig site and guessed that it was about 30 meters across and 50 meters deep. Let's go check out the place. Be on the lookout for anything unusual. The 5 shinobi then jumped into the pit. When did they hear it? A roar that sounds both familiar and strange. Skruugn. The 5 shinobi stood still and looked at the one who was the only one with a kaiju. His shocked eyes told them something they didn't want to hear. Isn't that one of yours? Naruto shook his head and made a seal, but he was shoved out of the way as a jet of emerald fire hit the space he had just been in. He shook the cobwebs out of his head and looked up to see that Shino had saved him, but he was focused on something else. By looking in the same direction as the bug user, he was able to see what had attacked them. His heart stopped beating. There stood the mysterious kaiju, which looked eerily like a creature Naruto knew well. It walked on 2 back legs and 2 forearms and stood with its back bent. Both feet had 3 toes, and each toe ended in a sharp claw. It had 3 finger claws at the end of each arm that were very sharp. It had 2 rows of large, pointed dorsal fins that ran the length of its back. A long neck led to a big, squared-off head with yellow, slit-pupiled eyes and a gaping mouth with teeth that looked like daggers. The kaiju stared at them for a moment, then threw back its huge head and let out a loud, angry roar. When Naruto saw that his hand was bleeding from the fall, he quickly went through hand seals and slammed his bloody hand down on the ground. Seal script spread from where his hand hit the ground, summoning Jutsu. The group of shinobi disappeared in a cloud of smoke, which made the kaiju's back fins glow a poisonous green and make it spit out a stream of emerald flames from its mouth. It held its attack for about a minute before finally putting out the fire. It looked at the place where the people had been and waited to see their burned bodies, only for the red armored scales of Raden to appear, which Naruto knew from before. Naruto's team is hiding behind one of his legs. So this is the guy Big G has been talking about, huh? Naruto looked up at the new kaiju that looked like a pteranodon and pointed to it. We need to find a way into the main city of the land of Rebirth. Do you think you could hold him off for a while? Raden asked the little blonde. Could I stop him, kid? I'm one of the 5 strongest kaiju on Monster Island, so of course I can stop him. I'm offended that. That's good for you, but we really need to find this place, Naruto said. Raden snorted and turned to face his enemy. He didn't wait a second before firing a blast of wind from his beak. When the new kaiju appeared, it was so fast that it was easily avoided, but Raden launched himself at it at an even faster speed, making it impossible to avoid. The other kaiju didn't have time to react before the red-scaled kaiju hit it and knocked it to the ground. The other kaiju let out a loud shriek as it tried to get back on its feet, but Rodden began to peck at it with its strong beak. The spines on its back lit up again as it shrieked, and then the kaiju belched out emerald flames that hit Rodden's belly and made the winged kaiju shriek in pain. When the kaiju saw an opening, it whipped its tail and hit the shaking Rodden with it. Rodden was thrown several meters away and hit the ground with such force that Ino and Kakashi had to jump out of the way. The new kaiju dug into the ground with a smirk. Rodden stood up and jumped into the air. It hovered above the battleground and looked around for the missing kaiju. Rodden seemed to stop for a second before shooting a beam of crimson and scarlet energy at the part of the earth that was moving. Rodden stopped attacking once he was sure he had done enough damage, only for the new kaiju to leap out of the earth behind Rodden and locked his jaws around Rodden's left wing, sending the two kaiju to slam into the ground. Rodden screeching in pain as the new kaiju shook its head viciously in order to further increase the damage it was inflicting. While the two giant kaiju fought close by, the 5 ninjas scrambled around the huge crater, trying to find anything out of the ordinary. Behind them, the two kaiju were fighting. Shikamaru seemed to be someone else. He dove down to the ground and dug quickly, trying to find something to help him get away from the fighting titans. Shino's insects were flying all over the ground, and Kakashi's summons were helping out. Shikamaru and Ino were both hacking at the ground, and Naruto had his clones spread out across the pit to help. But the first Naruto just stood there and watched the kaiju fight. For some reason, he could feel something inside him pulling at the new kaiju and calling for him to get in touch. So, even though his mind told him he was an idiot, he ran toward the fighting kaiju. "Naruto!" yelled Kakashi as he caught sight of Naruto's movement out of the corner of his unveiled Sharingan eye. Even though his former sensei yelled at him, the kaiju summoner kept running toward the fighting titans and did hand seals as he went. Wind Sword Jutsu. He took out 2 kunais, which looked like daggers, and put wind chakra into them. This made a small cyclone spin around the blades. Naruto jumped as high as he could by putting as much chakra as he could into his legs. He let out a cry of determination and threw the wind-bladed kunai at the new kaiju. He watched as the blades were able to cut through the kaiju's scaly skin. "OS!" he yelled as he hit the ground and his legs buckled from the fall. When he lifted his head, he saw that Rodden's red beam was beating the new kaiju into the ground. Before finally giving up, the beast roared in pain and determination. Naruto, who was getting tired, made 2 copies of himself. He had one of them carry him to the downed kaiju while the other went to help Kakashi. As he got closer to the beast that was panting, Rodden noticed him and nodded his head before disappearing in a puff of smoke. As he got closer, the kaiju looked at him with its dark yellow eyes. When he finally got to the head, he got rid of the clone and then fell to the ground. He patted the big animal next to its eye with a hand that was slightly shaking. "You're a hard Sonova bitch to bring down, you know that." The kaiju just snorted and kept looking at the little blonde girl. Naruto took a deep breath, looked at the kaiju, and then used his radiation chakra to make his eyes look like they were on fire. "How about we find out who you are?" The Uzumaki heir then connected his mind with the tired monster. TL Sadil 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 Sadil. What in the hell were you thinking? Naruto just looked at Kakashi and could feel how tired the boss was. Boss thought that if he could get the kaiju to give in, he would be able to form a bond with it like he had with the other kaiju. You know, to find out what it is, how long it has been here, and if it will affect our mission. Kakashi looked at his blonde charge with narrowed eyes and opened his mouth to answer, but one of Naruto's clones cut him off. "Hey, guys, I think I found something. Come here." The clone let out a sigh of relief and disappeared to tell the boss that they had found something and to tell the other clones what the boss's plan was. The rest of the clones got the memories of their brothers, and all but one of them disappeared. The one that found the anomaly stayed alive. Shikamaru and the others had already reached the clone when Kakashi got there. Kakashi asked, "What did you find?" He had covered up his Sharingan because he could feel his chakra reserves going down. The clone pointed to the dirt right in front of him, which made the other clones look in that area. What they saw amazed and scared them at the same time. A sign was carved into the ground there, a circle with a swirl pattern inside and 3 dots that looked like commas in the middle. There were 9 black circles all around the circle. The sign looked like it was decades or even hundreds of years old. Wow, the stories were right. The land of Rebirth is real. The Nara heir muttered, "Troublesome," and Ino hit him upside the head. Shino looked at the design of the symbol and asked, "Naruto, can you open this seal-like mark, or do we need your real body since you are just a chakra construct?" The clone blushed and rubbed his head. "Yeah, we have to wait for the boss. Even if I didn't break it, this seal needs the DNA of an Uzumaki, a Uchiha, or a Senju. Since I'm a clone, I don't have blood." Ino groaned and fell to the ground. "So while your stupid boss deals with that monster, we'll just have to wait here." When Naruto gave Ino an icy look, she felt a little cold. Yes, Ino, you should do that while the boss takes care of that amazing creature. The clone then disappeared, leaving the 4 shinobi sitting around the symbol. The awkwardness caused by Ino's outburst made Kakashi get up from his book for the first time. TL sidle 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 side. Who are you then? Naruto and the kaiju sat in a place in Naruto's mind that he had made for when he linked his mind with a kaiju. He had mostly done this to learn more about his summons. The only reason he had this power was because he signed the kaiju contract and helped the fox. The kaiju were shrunk down to the size of people in this space. The new kaiju was curled up like a dog, and its yellow eyes were focused on Naruto's blue eyes. After a short time, he said something. Naruto smiled and said, "You're a strange human. Not many people would even try what you're doing, let alone be able to do it. Not many people can call kaiju. Let's try this again. Who are you?" After staring at the blonde ninja for a moment, the kaiju let out a quiet snort. "I don't know. My mother was dead when I was born, so I was never given a name." Naruto looked at the kaiju and began to feel sorry for them. Even in the world of monsters, babies lost their parents. Tell me, why haven't you been found until now? Even the other kaiju didn't know you existed until Godzilla sensed your nuclear energy a few days ago. The kaiju, which was now as big as a person, kept quiet. At first, Naruto thought the kaiju was ignoring him because the voice sounded like a man's. When the kaiju spoke again a few minutes later, Naruto knew he was wrong. "Well, I guess I could say I fell into a deep sleep and didn't wake up until a few months ago. I woke up because I felt a strange pulse of energy." Naruto looked at the kaiju, not understanding what it was saying. A pulse? What could he possibly be talking about? Would you say this pulse felt like the energy you use in your breath attack, which you did about 4 months ago? After a moment of thinking, the kaiju nodded. "Yes, they are alike, but older." "How do you know this?" "Because that's when I called Godzilla for the first time." Naruto stopped and looked at the kaiju for a few seconds, taking in how it looked and remembering what it could do. "That's interesting. It seems to me that you or, in this case, your father or mother had a birth like Godzilla." The kaiju looked at him with a confused tilt of the head. Godzilla is known as the first kaiju, and he or his predecessor was born when a hydrogen bomb was dropped on an island outside of Japan. The blast woke him up, and the nuclear energy caused his body to mutate and change into that of a 50-foot-tall creature with great strength, and the ability to heal itself, as well as giving him the power of atomic breath. This Godzilla was killed, but what does this have to do with me or my mom or dad? Well, you have an atomic breath like Godzilla, but I think it's more like fire than a breath. You seem to have amazing regenerative powers, and you're definitely strong if you hurt rotten. It's almost like you're a mini Godzilla. Naruto seemed to think about something as he drifted off. When the kaiju saw how far away Naruto looked, they started to curl up in a more comfortable position. After just a few minutes, the blonde spoke up again. He muttered Zilla to get the kaiju's attention. "What did you say?" Naruto looked the monster straight in the eye and nodded. "It makes sense. You almost have the same powers as him, and you look a lot like him. But you're not the same race. And since he's older, he has the word God in front of his name." Zilla thought about his new name and why Naruto had given it to him for a while before nodding and giving a small smile. "That's cool, Zilla. How many of these kaiju are there?" "Well, there's Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, Anguirus, Manda, King Caesar, Jezora, Varan, Barakan, Gorosaurus, Jr., King Ghidorah, and Jet Jaguar. I haven't met any others yet." Junior, Godzilla's new child. Zilla looked at the boy and thought about how he was standing and moving before nodding. "Is there a way for you to bring me here, where the other kaiju are, so I can be with people like me?" Naruto gave Zilla a smile and a nod. "Yes, but there's one catch." Zilla's yellow eyes were wide open and fixed on the blonde. Naruto went on when he saw that he had his full attention. "When you join Monster Island, you'll be part of the kaiju summoning contract. From what I've heard, when a summoner is accepted, they get a personal summon, which becomes their best friend. If I take you to Monster Island, I'd like you to be my personal summon. What do you say?" The blonde shinobi reached out his hand to the kaiju. Zilla looked at it while Naruto's offer played over and over in his head. He finally answered by grabbing the teen's hand with one of his scaly parts. "Deal." When the young Uzumaki opened his eyes, he took a quick look around. When he saw that Zilla was still lying on the ground next to him, he put his hand on the kaiju's huge snout and sent some radiation chakra into its body. At first, it looked like nothing was happening, but after a few seconds, he could see that the kaiju was starting to breathe more evenly. Naruto smiled as he did the hand seals for the summoning jutsu. He bit his thumb and then slammed his hand down on the ground. Naruto was surprised to see Mothra's familiar shape appear in the usual puff of smoke. The god looked at her summoner, but all she saw was a tired Zilla. Naruto spoke up to get her to look at him. Mothra, this is the kaiju Godzilla talked about. His name is Zilla, and he wants to join Monster Island. Could you take him to Godzilla for me? The big moth nodded her head, took off, and flew to Zilla's back. After a few seconds, the two kaiju disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Naruto wind body flicked to his team and sighed. When her fellow blonde suddenly appeared next to her, Ino let out a yell to let the others know that their leader was there. Kakashi gave his old student a mean look. "What did you think you were doing?" he asked. Naruto just gave him a blank look and turned to face the symbol carved into the ground. He pulled a kunai out of his holster and cut his hand with it. He then slammed his bloody hand against the symbol. As soon as the blonde's blood touched the symbol, a bright light came from under her hand, and just feet in front of the symbol, a hole began to form. Shikamaru and Shino turned away in disgust when a smell of decay came from the new hole. Naruto didn't want any of his team to deal with whatever was down there, so he made 5 copies of himself out of shadow, and sent them down into the earth. After 2 days, what did you find, then? Naruto's ability to tell stories had Tsunade leaning forward in anticipation as he read his report. Naruto smiled at how amazed she was and then went on. When the clones went away, I had memories of a city in ruins, with streets torn apart and strange metal contraptions that had rusted over time. Unfortunately, we couldn't save anything to bring back with us. The blonde sighed and leaned back in her chair, letting her disappointment show on her face. While at least the mission was a success, you did find the land of Rebirth. For that, your payment has been sent to your account and a council of shinobi will converge to decide if you're eligible to take part in the Tokubetsu Jonin exams. Dismissed. The blonde Uzumaki, to Tsunade's ire, exited from the Hokage's window and made his way to his personal training grounds, the woods in which he found the home of his family's contract. Once he had touched down next to the cabin, he performed a quick chakra pulse to detect intruders. Sensing no one, the teen quickly made his way inside and shut the door behind him. He made his way to a desk that he had set up. He flicked on the lamp and pulled out a scroll. A scroll the one of his clones had sneakily passed him as he lied about finding nothing. Cracking the seal, he unfurled the ancient scroll and began to mentally absorb everything on the parchment. Radiation jutsu, this'll be fun.
So this was it for today. I will continue this movie in next part. Till then, be Weeb offline.